This is Chris Hansen.
This is TJ Hushmanzada.
Chad doing Rip City Radio here.
This is Jamie Hudson.
And I need to let y'all know something. You're listening to.
And you're listening to.
It just makes sense.
This just makes sense.
It just makes sense.
Woo! Way better than Chris Hansen.
Yeah, seriously. I want to get involved in the rigging of Fat Bear Week.
In relationship to Fallout Boy.
Oh, Fallout Boy. People are.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
we got it.
cut that.
Like, someone should hire you to be a protester. 4 bills dead weight. They're not getting you off that court.
They look at me and I'm like, I fucking dare you.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
dare you.
I mean,
A
like,
tractor, there's nothing that can.
They gotta be forklift certified.
Oh, I can't be a Cowboys fan because of this moral high ground that you are on. Bite me. Eat me.
Bite me. Eat me. I mean, gosh.
I'm so sorry to everyone that we just did that to.
Everything I just said before that, I just made that shit up.
Small enough and dumb enough.
Small enough, dumb enough. That's what we want.
That is It Just Makes Sense. No bugs. That's just how you sync everything up. How? Yeah, I know. Clap on, clap off.
Our normal intern who does the director's thing is not here.
Yeah, exactly.
Action.
Does that mic work?
Maybe.
There you go.
I just have to make out with it.
You do have to make out with it. Are you on 2 or 3? Talk again? Okay, you're on 2. That's what I thought you were.
I knew it.
Thought you were on 2.
Who does number 2 work for?
Are we just in your inbox here?
Yeah.
Yeah, the very confidential information there.
How many of these are unread?
All of them. Look at all those. I don't
Yeah,
read
that would
these.
drive me fucking nuts.
I do not read work emails.
You know those people that pull up their iPhones and it says like 4,000 unread emails, messages?
Gives you anxiety, huh?
Every 2 minutes, I'm clearing my phone.
Really?
Yeah, I get emails like every 2 minutes, and I either just click on them so they're read, or I delete them. I can't have that.
Which are you? The person who has 100,000 emails, or the person who
I get too many emails to clear it out.
Got you. So here's my thing: is that as a millennial, I just don't want you to send me an email. One of my professional critiques was like, "Oh, you're just bad with emails." Like, well, I'm better at like Slack and Teams. Like, you know how confusing email chains are, where all of a sudden you're looped in and someone's 10 steps ahead of you or whatever. It's like start a running chat, and then there's the stream of consciousness. To then get like those chevrons or whatever, and it's like bop bop bop, and then you have no idea what's going on at that point.
But how on top of it are you on like Slack?
Very, very. Like, I'm a very good Slack communicator.
Okay.
So there you go. Send me a Slack. Don't send me a.
Is that
Don't
on your
send me an email.
Is that on your resume? Don't you fucking send me an email.
You know how many endorsement deals we probably have sitting in our official IGMSE? So many people have just been lining up to give us money.
We don't check emails.
Money, and we don't check emails. So hit us up on anything other than email.
Send us a letter.
Yeah.
Actually, that would be really fun.
A nice little.
I want to read. I like opening letters.
This person's handwriting's pretty nice, actually.
Miguel has very good handwriting.
Do you really?
He does.
When I'm not in a hurry and I try, yes.
My handwriting's atrocious. I had to do a year of cursive in 4th grade, and it just ruined it.
What was up with cursive?
I don't get it. And now all my letters kind of blend together, but kind of don't. And some of them are like left over. Like the L sometimes I do that cursive curly Q.
Yeah. I guess I did it a little bit. Yeah. It's like it's so stupid to like spend so much time like writing when you're in elementary school is hard enough, and then they're like trying to introduce a brand new thing. It's like, what?
I also took a calligraphy. I took a calligraphy class.
Did you really? I'm not trying to like be a curmudgeon. I just don't understand the point of cursive.
I don't think there's.
It makes you write faster.
No. I mean, it just makes you think about it too much. My brother, though, actually decided to stay in the cursive world. He writes exclusively, well, not exclusively, but generally he's a cursive guy.
It's technically supposed to streamlined. Like it makes you write. It makes you write faster or without stopping.
Disagree.
But it's illegible.
These days, though, I don't know how much you guys actually like physically write when it comes to your jobs, but I am getting tired after just a couple minutes of writing. Ask me to like write like a whole thing, can't do it.
The forearms aren't cut out for it anymore.
Right?
I don't have whatever muscle tone is needed to maintain that kind of.
You don't keep the muscle going either way.
No, that specific muscle. No.
That specific muscle, no.
I'm a better writer, faster and better writer than I am a typer.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have to look at the physical
No,
keys?
I type fast enough,
Right.
but it's weird because I don't use my ring finger or my pinky.
You're a
Yeah.
you're a pointer
but
finger
not.
guy?
But I'm not like a fucking 70-year-old. It's like, like I type fast just using these three
It's
fingers.
like someone taught like an Allosaurus to type
Basically.
or something.
Yeah,
You're a little raptor.
but I can
Raptor fingers.
can write fast because I can write cursive, like you jabrones.
Sorry. We are just Are they still teaching cursive, I wonder? Maybe I'll ask my wife who is in the
I imagine
she's a speech therapist, but she's in the school
everyone's
district, so-
typing. Like everyone has their laptop now. Like who still
Yeah,
writes?
every kid has like a school issued like iPad, right? Or
Yeah,
tablet of some kind.
of sorts, yes, for sure.
You remember back in the day when you're in like even in college, you're taking notes. I didn't have a laptop when I was taking notes. I was taking notes.
In college?
Yeah. Now everyone has a laptop. Where
When
you're
I had a
taking notes
laptop
out.
in college, I was probably not taking I was probably playing video games or watching like whatever was on 2009
Quite the distraction.
YouTube.
People
Or,
Because that's like your
popping videos.
first. That's like your first laptop.
it was
you know,
really
so-
exciting stuff.
Mhm.
I could. The world was my oyster.
Like the 30-pound Dell laptop. That's what I had.
I wonder how
Fucking
many.
heavy-ass
I'm
shit.
trying to remember how many gigabytes my first laptop was. It was
Foe.
an HP. My sister's was like 4 or 8 gigabytes. Yeah, she had like one of the first. She had like a Sony Vaio or whatever.
All I know is I had enough gigs for 30 MILF Hunter videos.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it took
I
you
could
about
burn CDs.
How
I could
many-
watch porn.
how many days did that take to download on LimeWire?
A lot, but you know I like to
On
rewatch
dorm
shit.
Wi-Fi. It's been a long time.
My wife did. She was clearing out. She's at this older office building. They're transitioning to this new spot, and she found a floppy disk, not even a CD-ROM, a floppy disk of to download AOL, right? And then it was like, hey, you can get up to 10 hours for $20 of internet, and any after that, you're charged $2.50 per hour for internet in the entire month. So that was she still has it. I thought that was really
There's a
interesting.
whole generation that like hears the AOL ding, and has like a endorphin response.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean it's an immediate. We do dabble in the nostalgia here, and so that is very much our sound.
Like the Altoid with Dwight.
Oh, right, the
Yeah.
Pavlovian thing,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right, where it's
Office,
like the,
great show, nice reference.
Yeah, that brings us. Welcome once again, Alex. You are now sitting in a rocking chair.
That's right.
So you
I
are
like this one a
opposite
lot.
me.
I like this one more. This
You
is a
don't.
nice- this is a nicer
That's
chair.
a slippery chair.
I kept kind of just slaloming out of it. and
Yeah.
I had
Honestly,
to-
when you had my seat, I couldn't see you.
I was just drowning in it.
Just
Is he playing a game? What is he doing?
incredible shrinking man in a big chair. So Alex is back once again, and part of it is because you were over this past weekend,
That is true.
and Miguel was getting so mad at you, and I was like, you should come on the podcast so that Miguel can get so mad at you again.
Not that Braxton isn't available. It's just like, we have shit to talk
yeah,
about.
Braxton is
Braxton's
here.
sitting out.
Braxton's manning the cameras. Actually, we've kicked Braxton off the show. At some point, it's like the whole "he's dead" thing is going to become like a joke that's not funny anymore. I mean, it wasn't funny to begin with. We're still trying to. That's still in beta. But either way, Alex is here. Miguel was mad at Alex, and I can't for the life of me remember. I think it was show related. I think it was because you said that you've never seen The Office.
Because Alex
No, I
is a
said I didn't
contrarian.
like The
You
Office.
like The Office. That's right.
And I also don't like Breaking Bad. That's not true. Breaking Bad is an 8 out of 10 was my direct.
That's what's confusing. You give it an 8 out of 10.
That's pretty good.
But you had a lot of criticism about the show.
But everything
that sounded like you were giving it like your technical score is like 4 out of 10.
But it's not new anymore, right? So any criticism of it is necessarily filtered through kind of like the consensus on it, right? And the consensus on Breaking Bad is like, this is one of the best shows ever. I think it's an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 is pretty high.
It's still
8 out
not
of 10 's
bad.
pretty good.
Yeah. But you said you like Better Call Saul better, right?
Yeah, and I think that's because the thing with Breaking Bad is like Walter White is like the faulty beam that kind of undermines the structure of the show, right? He's not a good character. He's very static. The whole concept of him breaking bad was shown to be inaccurate right when Gretchen and Ears guy Elliot, the gray matter people, did I get it? Maybe.
Sure.
We're like, oh, we'll just pay for your treatment. And that was episode 5. And he was like, no, I don't want it. And it's like, this guy's a dick.
Yeah, it
Like,
was
he's a
pretty.
dick. He's
It
a
was
dick the whole show.
pretty crazy that he didn't accept that money.
Didn't accept it.
Just take the money.
But you can't. But your argument for what the faulty part of the show is to you is the exact reason why people would argue against that. It was like his. I know you don't agree with it, but his character development is one of the best parts of the show.
But I don't think he developed. I think he was just like a piece of shit from the jump, and then
Might have
just
been a
got
piece of
like
shit from the jump.
slightly better at cooking meth, and then ran into a bunch of people who were much better at various meth-related tasks than he was, and he kind of mooched off them for a while. And then like the last episode of the show, he showed up with like a beard and hair and nicer glasses frames, and was like a super criminal all of a sudden, could Batman his way into the Gray Matter people's mansion
I
again.
think you're completely
And then-
downplaying
And then his
everything
big,
he did.
you know what his big fucking plan was like a really bad transformer. It was like a car with a gun in the trunk, like like an RC car. Like that's dumb. That's a dumb plan. I don't know. I don't understand how that show just like threw it out there as this like, oh, look what he did now, when it was just like, that's like a MacGyver plan. Like, and the Will Forte MacGyver.
I think you're downplaying all this, like, getting lucky and running into it. I mean, he
I think he got
fucking
lucky.
annihilated everyone that was in charge
He got
to
like
become the guy.
He did it. Okay. But also, that plan had to be shown off screen because there's no way Walt actually could have pulled it off. It felt very like Deus Ex
He had
Machina.
people doing shit for him.
Yeah, but when did he ever talk to those people? It just like showed up one episode and all those people in the prison got shanked.
You know, the most creative thing, because like he did set himself up to fail a lot of times, specifically with that RV and other things, was actually like doing the exterminator stuff and then using people's houses to cook for a while, and then he would just like bop to bop to bop. So then
Yeah,
no
that
one
was an
the
8 out of 10
wiser.
plan, I think.
Also,
8
the
out of
whole
10 plan.
you can't tell me that you're gonna judge him for early on in the show not accepting the money from these people who he didn't like, that he felt like took advantage of him. You don't think you would have enough pride to be like, I don't need your help?
Absolutely, I would have very little pride in that situation because his two choices were
Yeah,
just like
well,
take
tell
that
you
money.
what, if Peter tells me that he's taking the money, I'll call fucking bullshit.
Why?
Because you have
Because, I
you
mean,
have so much pride.
hold
You're
on,
not gonna
hold
just take
on.
the help. You're gonna be like, I'm gonna do this shit myself.
No, not to, well, I mean, when you're thinking about like the fact that he got screwed over on the money, I think that that's like almost kind of like them making it right and you finally got
But do you
your money.
think for somebody whose ego and whose pride is like almost taking him over, you think he's gonna look at that as like making it right, or he's gonna look at it like, oh, now you want to give me charity because you refused to fucking make it right in the beginning?
But didn't he defect from Gray Matter like right before they made it big? Like they kind of used his intellectual property, but he also like left in a fit because of some kind of like love triangle thing, right? Am I recollecting that?
He'll know better, maybe, but
No, I think he was like
He didn't get like kicked out though.
he didn't get kicked out. He voluntarily left.
Yeah. So it's like that in
Because
and
of his
its-
pride, because he felt like he was taken advantage of, and he's like, I don't want anything to do
but
with
then
these
they
people.
used his thing and
But that's the thing is like the whole arc of Walt is not one like he's even the same Walt in flashbacks, and the whole idea that like, well, it turns out Walt's the actual addict. He's addicted to feeling special now. Like that's who he was the whole time. And I think there's a reason the show kicks into a higher gear when Gus shows up, because on some level, like, Gus is a better protagonist. Like, the show about Gus would have been better. And I think Vince Gilligan knew that, and that's why he did Better Call Saul, because he's like, oh, shit, like, I made the main character the crappy one. And I better try, but, like,
There are a lot of crappy ones.
But
in
you
that
don't
show.
give Walt any credit for the fact that Gus was the kingpin, and he knew that, and he used Gus as long as he could and as he needed to, and then he got rid of him when no one else could.
I really never got that impression. Like, I kept watching it, waiting for, like, his Heisenberg moment, which I guess is his Heisman moment, but
I mean,
that's pretty one for one.
There are a few of those.
But, like, and I just was like, this guy's just kind of a doofus the whole time. Like, he has all these, like, badass speed where he's like he's the danger, and then later in that episode he's just fucking something else up, and it's just like he's just not very mastermind. He just kind of gets lucky.
He's all mastermind.
No, he's just kind of
He's
bad.
all mastermind.
I think that there is a nice mixture. I will just be the devil. I will just ride both sides on this because there were a lot
That's
of
such
times.
a Braxton take.
No, like
I
where
don't
he
mean
got
like
himself
by
into a
everyone.
lot of like how he, the way that he stored his money, and he left a lot of things up in the air to where things could go wrong, and then they did go wrong.
Didn't every season was a new guardian angel, like Jesse in the first one, and then Saul, and then Mike, and then Gus, and it's just like he
but
never.
You're not giving him any credit for those. You feel like everyone just came along and just like helped him out, and
Yeah.
you're saying that he didn't have a hand in any of those situations.
But he never. Who did he make contact with versus who approached him? I feel like every situation it was someone like.
Every single person that was in charge that he eventually took over for, he made contact with. Tuco, the guy that was working for the Aryan Brotherhood, Gus, the uncle.
He didn't reach out to Gus. Gus reached out to him.
I'm saying, like, if you're talking about him taking over,
Yeah.
Mike had matched him up with Gus because he needed a bigger supplier, which he used Gus as long as he needed to, and then got rid of him using the uncle, knowing the history behind that. And then used Gus to get rid of the head honcho with a mansion in Mexico. I mean, Walt had a hand in every single one of those.
But he was kind of just more a role player.
If you think he's a doofus, that's fair. But to call him a role player is absurd. He is a mastermind in every single one of those.
I think he just got really lucky. And I think part of it is Bryan Cranston is such a good actor. He really, like, enlivens what is, like, a mediocre character. I also, like, I'm pretty sure Vince Gilligan had an interview recently where he's like, yeah, Walt kind of sucked. That was my bad.
I mean, I thought that a lot of those characters were incredibly unlikable. It was really tough for that show. At least in the early, for me, I was like, you wanted to root for anyone, and then I wasn't rooting. It was hard to root for anyone at that point.
Yeah, and I don't really like, I couldn't really get into The Sopranos either, which I realize is kind of a betrayal of, like, my cultural identity.
Yeah, Mr. Italiano.
But is that a sign of, like, do you look at that as a sign of a good show? Is if you couldn't root for people? Like, who'd you root for in Better Call Saul?
I think you root for Jimmy. Like, he's enough of a sympathetic character that, like, even though on some level like, it's pretty scummy, but it's just like they laid the foundations of his and Chuck's relationship so well that as the audience, when things happen to him, it is kind of
what it's rooted in.
Yeah, like a triggering of that sort of emotional scarring. Whereas Walt just, like, showed up and was kind of like a goofball, and then his hair, like, migrated down his face, and then he was just kind of the same guy.
And one day you'll meet a Walt, see what you do.
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. Maybe one of those
threatening.
people will be at Club Paisano when we go out this summer. So
I think
That's
it's
all
there.
Waltz.
All
I think
Waltz,
The
all
Sopranos
Tony
is more
Sopranos.
likely.
Yeah, one of those. Okay, so other shows that you don't like.
Didn't like The Office.
Yeah, that other people do, and I was kind of on that too because your logic,
I gave The Office multiple seasons, by the way. I watched
Right.
them with my wife, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
which is
I hate these people. Oh my God, Jim and Pam are the worst.
you think, well, I mean, the Pam thing is not a new take
Yeah,
or whatever.
I'm
There's
not-
a lot of
I'm
people who
not
are
a-
in the
this
same
is
boat
not
as
Yeah,
that.
and I also don't disagree that Jim and Pam are fucking annoying, and so like I hate Angela. I'm not a big fan of Michael, but I feel like
like,
the
what
show.
do
But I
you
feel like the show is great because I look at that as like, Steve Carell plays Michael so well that I can't stand him.
You
He
don't
plays
like
a
him.
role of like an attention craving, like I need to be in the spotlight. Fucking, I need to be liked by everyone guy, and it's just so fucking annoying. But I feel like he plays it so well. I'm like, this is a great fucking show.
Yeah, very much like my style when it comes to shows or trends or fads. Is I push against it, right? So we were in college at the same time. I guess we all kind of were, but you were referencing it this weekend where people would rent out the common area and watch it. And then they would book it for the whole 2 hours, even though they just needed to watch a 30-minute show and you wanted to watch sports.
I did want to watch sports.
And I had very similar crazy like watch parties that were happening in the basement of like my residence hall too, where it was like, this is too popular. I don't like it because it's so popular.
And Peter actually stopped it because he's the RA.
Nice.
Yeah, I was
Use
like,
your
you guys
power
can't,
for good.
you guys can't watch this.
I
And-
missed like a lot of like tail end of prime Tracy McGrady because of that show. So I think this is like
Yeah,
a
this is on them.
justifiable grudge.
This is on them. I eventually watched The Office. The first one I ever saw was then the Christmas episode where then Michael Scott is just like angry at Phyllis for the oven mitt that she made, and he wanted the iPod that the limit was $20 or it was such an asshole. And then I was like, why do people like this show? But then I
Do you ever like you see these? This is more so like the last 2 or 3 years where people are like, who liked Friends? And it's to me, and Ashley would love this because this is what I always use. This such a Gen Z take. It's like, oh, who actually liked Friends? And like my aunts and uncles and my mom, that's what they grew up. It's like, when you, like, what would be our show? Would it be The Office or something where like you have people the same age going through like
similar life
life
circumstances?
Would it be like Boy Meets World?
Well,
or
as kids, it
something?
would be Boy Meets World. These days, I don't know.
I think like high school, college, it was more The Office than anything else. Like that was.
I'm trying to think of
in my
another show.
experience, at least.
There has to be another
like
show.
us right now.
Yeah, but like
I
know
don't know,
how.
there's a lot that I could relate to, like New Girl, maybe.
Yeah, but isn't like that's the people that grew up watching Friends? That's what they could relate to, and you see all of these.
See yourself in them type of a deal.
Yeah, like the everyday life and relationships and all that. And
Well,
you
I
see
think that's why Seinfeld was so popular.
Seinfeld's a great
Seinfeld,
one.
Curb Your Enthusiasm kind of built off of
I
that.
think How I Met Your Mother was probably closer as well to kind of like
Sure.
our
Yeah,
generation's
I can see
Friends,
that.
maybe.
But it's like you have a lot of people knocking Friends, and a lot of it are a lot of those people are the younger ones today. It's like, oh, who actually like Friends, and I feel like
I
that's
mean, like a lot of people watch. Like mathematically, it was quite
Yeah.
popular.
Well, and that the thing too is I wonder how popular shows are. I mean, like the latest one was Last of Us, but when you think about like how many people have actually watched that versus not, I mean, like you had to watch what was given to you in the 90s.
Yeah,
right?
but
if you didn't watch it, you didn't know what happened. You had
that
to-
wouldn't fall under the category that I'm thinking though. Like like How I Met Your Mother.
Sure.
Is
Yeah,
right there.
like
It was
a transformative type of.
It's
you
not
know,
something where you're tuned in and
like
nothing
what
else
character
is
are
happening.
you? Who am I?
Yeah.
Like, am I
you can't
Michael Scott?
You can't
Am I
filter
a-
your life experience through Game of Thrones, even though Game of Thrones was extremely popular.
Right, which was another
Like,
show that I didn't really like because it was so freaking popular.
But I feel like a lot of those people, like what I'm getting at is the people who knock Friends are like, you're just looking for things that you don't like versus appreciating it. Is like Alex the Contrarian's take. It's like, this is what's wrong with Breaking Bad.
But I am
this
the
is
Office
what's wrong with The
generation. I'm
Office.
coming at the icons of my own time. I don't think I'm like who watched Dallas anyway or whatever. Like
Yellowstone Ew.
Ew. Yeah. Speaking of ew things and things that may be a little bit obscure against the grain, I saw this come across my timeline this past weekend, which had to do with NFL draft hopeful Will Levis. And he was talking about how, and this is the Kentucky guy, who's like just so jacked. He doesn't look like he's a quarterback so much as like a...
He looks like like a guy that would play a high school quarterback on TV.
Yeah, like on
That's
All-American.
what he fucking looks like.
Like on
yeah.
All-American on the CW or whatever. It's just like...
He
you were
looks like Jason Street in Friday Night Lights. Yeah.
So he was talking about how there's two things that he eats that's pretty obscure. Number one, he eats a banana, peel and all, with the peel still on.
He was recording himself doing this, and the banana's like brown.
Yeah.
Question. Like, what's his
end
consumption
game?
technique? Like
He goes like
does
top.
he just kind of
Yeah.
like
He goes
straight
top
from
and
the top.
straight from the top.
just like it? What?
It's not even a good-looking banana. It was literally brown.
Yeah,
Like
let
it
me
was.
see if I can pull this up for you.
What's the other one?
The other thing is that he puts mayonnaise in his
Yeah,
coffee.
he puts mayo in his coffee. And it's just in clumps. Like, it doesn't even dissolve. It's just fucking...
And I don't know
I get-
the health benefit on that.
I guess that's
but-
like the natural endpoint of like that bulletproof coffee craze, but also that's revolting.
I kind of get the coffee, but what's the point of eating the
No,
banana peel?
brother, don't. So he's just
Look
kind
at
of.
that thing.
Oh wow, that is hardly a. That's a disgusting banana.
That's not even a good banana.
What the fuck?
That's what I said.
Yeah, it's super mushy.
So it's so past ripe.
Yeah.
I want to throw up.
And
That's
he's just
awful.
like he's doing this for shock value, right?
Yeah, but I mean he does that.
and of course he's doing it shirtless. He's trying to just do a freaking thirst trap on it.
this guy's gonna suck.
Yeah, I think he might. Yeah.
He's terrible. You don't see Anthony Richardson
No.
fucking deep throating a banana.
Let's see if there's the mayonnaise. Yeah, here's the mayonnaise one.
No,
Here he
Will,
is.
stop.
All right.
At least he's in a suit.
Carson Wentz, mass money. No,
There he
stop
is.
it.
Here we go.
Oh god, that's so much mayonnaise.
Oh, why?
I thought it would just be oh, it's not even.
Yeah, it's all in
Look at-
clumps. It's
no.
disgusting.
There's the office again.
Ugh.
No,
But like he
there's just
winced
no
a little
way.
when he did it. I
There's-
feel like he's just making that up, and he didn't
there's
expect to have to
just
follow
no
through.
way.
with
You
it.
go, oh, hey, you know what would be really funny is if people start talking about you by doing this. It's just don't do it. Oh, yeah, it even had the squish on it. It's so stupid. All right.
Jesus.
But, you know, it says, what, 3.8 million people. So, I mean, that gets people talking about you, I
Part
guess.
of me gets
so.
the mayo, as gross as it is, but because maybe he doesn't eat enough fat that he needs some
Maybe.
fat.
It's just
But
like
the banana peel,
Because
I
people
don't
put,
understand.
like, collagen and other stuff in their coffees or
Yeah.
whatever. They put,
Like, if this guy's
additives.
rocking, like, a 4% body fat and he needs something, I get the mayo, but what's the point of a banana
why
peel?
wouldn't you just
I
do
don't know.
heavy cream? Like that's
Yeah, you
actually
could.
good.
And it actually,
Because that wouldn't get 3.8 million views.
it wouldn't, yeah. You'll never believe
This guy
what Will Levis.
doesn't like half and half.
Yeah. An affogato coffee. Oh, my gosh.
Why do people post shit nowadays? Give me the likes.
Exactly.
I need it.
For the shock jock factor. And so I guess he got it, but we'll see.
I don't.
Are there
If I were an NFL team, I would not be lining up to draft like the 25-year-old quarterback from Kentucky who puts mayonnaise in his coffee and eats skin
I don't know.
of
He's
banana.
pretty jacked.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I don't know what that really does in the end. But we'll see. And we'll talk about the draft coming up here in the coming weeks and kind of whether it's going to be Stroud or whether it's going to be
Right
Young.
now, Young overtook Stroud for #1 pick.
Yeah, and you were thinking like, oh, should I put money on Anthony
Yeah,
Richardson
there's
at
nothing
plus
exciting to
3,000?
bet on an NFL draft. Like last year there was, but like what do? You wait for the two top quarterbacks to flip flop 1 and 2, and then you don't know where Anthony Richardson's gonna go. Could Anthony Richardson go 1? Because that's sitting at plus 3,000, and that's a nice little chunk. If you
I
put
did.
money
I
on
did
that
put a little money on that.
for
Did you
first
actually?
pick.
Yeah, I did.
How about
I mean,
that?
that's
Let's see what
worth it.
happens.
All right.
I think he's going to be the best one, so I just kind of went for it, and I'll probably be wrong on multiple levels. Oh no,
something that's wrong on multiple levels is what happened on ESPN's First Take today. And I'm going to have to bump this audio all the way up.
Nice segue. Very on your toes with that one.
Thank you.
Is this something where there's a moaning happening?
Yeah, there's a mic that got left on.
Oh.
There's a hot mic that
I read it, but I didn't watch it.
So they were talking about the Dallas Mavericks, whether or not it was the right call to sit their players. And they haven't said who it is, but Stephen A. Smith is on camera, and then Kendrick Perkins is the other one. But this is a third sound that no one has any idea
Molly
where
there?
it's coming from. Probably. But it sounds like it could be a number of things, but let's listen to it and then talk about it on the other side.
Mavericks did not believe they were going to do a damn thing this postseason. That's why they made the decision that they made. So we can lament the decision. I'm just focused on the reason why. What the fuck? The reason why is we think they're not that good.
I don't know.
And evidently they
One more time.
did not believe they were going to do a damn thing this postseason. That's why they made the decision that they made. So we can lament the decision. I'm just focused on the reason why.
Someone straight up jerking.
The reason why is we think they're not that good, and evidently.
Okay, so that doesn't sound like a pooping sound
that's
either.
just-
That
But it's
sounds
not.
like someone jerking it.
That's just like the least self-conscious sound I've ever heard. You know what I mean? Like, you only make that sound when you think you're by yourself.
You are by yourself. Absolutely.
Just like
Yeah, 'cause
Either someone is definitely not poop, so we can scratch that. Either someone is pleasuring themselves,
yeah, I don't sound like that.
or someone
got
is
a really good itch.
I don't even know if that would be an itch.
It kind of
I-
sounds like they just woke up from a great nap.
No,
And it's
because
just-
I don't know about
because
that.
You don't think so?
that would happen once from like a great nap. I feel like that person is either that's a sexual sound or they're enjoying the best cheesesteak they've ever had. Like it's a fucking bomb hoagie. They're like, oh,
Holy shit. That's true. It could be food.
this au jus is the bomb.
What accent was that?
I think it's Jamaican. You don't want to hear my accents. They're all over the place.
Okay. Is there any food that makes you
Cheesecake.
want to really
Yeah, I love cheesecake.
just plain old cheesecake?
I don't want anything like Marionberry. I want just
Got
cheesecake.
against Marionberry.
I just don't want it. That's the shit they usually put in cheesecake, and I like Marionberries as like
Sure.
a concept.
You just want it plain old,
I want pure cheesecake.
pure with a nice.
You're a
graham
purist.
Cracker. Yeah,
Wow.
elitist, purist. You're all
In
of
Germany, they call it Käsekuchen. That's how you say cheesecake in German, apparently.
them.
which is
Käsekuchen.
Käsekuchen.
All
And
right.
I'll tell you what, we got some there, and it was so good.
Were you okay? So tell me this then, Mister Käsekuchen. Were you a lunch?
Can't believe he said that.
Well, yeah, I know.
What an ass.
You seem like a Lunchables guy. You were a Lunchables guy, right?
I wouldn't say no to it. Like I think
But
I
at school, like when you were in elementary school and you were getting
Would
your
I
lunch
beat
back,
up a kid for Lunchables?
Yeah.
You're goddamn right.
Here's the thing: is like I think I actually probably like Lunchables more both now and with the benefit of hindsight because my mom always insisted on like making lunches for us, and like because I had like the sandwich and like she made the cookie and I had the apple or whatever, like that kind of, you know, whether it was like a fruit roll up or a Lunchable or whatever, it was like, oh, that's the good shit that I don't get. So long answer long, yeah, I like Lunchables.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to have Lunchables for whatever reason. It was just like
that disc of ham just seems so nice.
Yeah.
you know, there's something that, like it
Like
fits
something
perfectly
you
on a
didn't have
Ritz.
all the time that you appreciate
Yeah.
more now.
Exactly.
Well, now Kraft Heinz has succeeded in getting ready-to-eat packaged Lunchables into school lunch programs that will start this fall. They had to go through all of these different approvals. They had never been able to enter directly into schools, obviously. It was like this is like an option now where you can pick a Lunchable option if you're like getting lunch at school. And apparently before, with the National School Lunch Program, it did not meet the standards of health and whatever,
Nutrition.
which is kind of funny considering what they have served at school
Yeah,
for
what
lunch.
are the
It's like, what are your standards
what
with
are
your
the
little
alternatives?
square piece of pizza that you're serving
What's
there?
the standard for
Square
healthy food?
crustless pizza.
Yeah, it's like, what is that?
That was the best pizza. The one with so much grease coming out of it. Like you tip it over,
It-
it's grease dripping.
It is a bit
You
ironic.
cup it, it'd be like a liquid taco. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. It's like, what were you actually trying to serve people if you said no? Lunchables are too far.
Fake meat teriyaki
Fake
chicken.
meat, yeah, that's probably it. So
At school, they had high school. There was I don't remember the chocolate chip cookie brand, but
That's what I was saying.
like they came in like a
best
little
one.
yeah, and it's just like each of those cookies was at least 300 calories, and as a high school, you'd have
But
like
it's
3
the
or 4
best
of them.
chocolate chip cookie ever.
Yeah.
Just came in a little piece of paper and it was folded on top and it was fucking great.
So what was your main? Because you said that you had the free lunch program as a kid.
Yeah, we was poor.
So,
So I
what
just-
was your go-to then?
Student ID, I would get the square pizza,
Yeah.
and then I would always get 2 things of the chocolate milk. And then when I get tired of that, I told you there's this place that had popcorn chicken with where the cookie would be served.
Sure.
And right next to that popcorn chicken is like a salad bar, and that was the best ranch.
That's another moaning food is like popcorn chicken or like any kind of like deep fried breaded chicken
with
is
good
just,
ranch.
Just like
Are you ranch on pizza people?
Yes.
depends how bad the pizza is.
Okay.
The worse the pizza is, the more likely my ranch application.
Okay.
So like Little Caesars, 100% ranch.
all ranch all the time.
You know, I don't know. Whatever's a tier up from Little Caesars, maybe it's that Domino's or Papa Murphy's or whatever. Like ranch is likely, and then like you keep escalating.
Okay.
So.
I mean, there is actually Ranch Pizza, the company, which is around here in Portland, but
Ranch is pretty good. Condiments for me has nothing to do with the quality.
I would
of food.
rather have ranch in coffee than mayonnaise in coffee.
oh my God, no.
mean, I have
Okay,
ranch with
I
everything.
have both of those right now. Would you like to sample?
I have a Lactaid.
oh
so
yeah,
I could
that's right.
do
you have
it.
that to go on.
Is someone
too.
getting punished?
Yeah,
today
I mean,
for the
we
first
got
time in
rid
a
of the
while?
I don't think you
punishments, but
volunteer
now-
for punishments. I think you have to get
All right,
them
well.
enforced for something deficient. But if that is something, then yes, I'll do
Okay,
a freaking
it-
coffee taster with like ranch, mayonnaise, and a third.
Here's what it'll be. So at some point, we'll make some sort of bet, a sports bet,
Yeah.
and then that will be
Perfect.
the payoff.
What would be the third? Because I feel like you should have to do like a little tasting tray and have like 3 or 4 little coffees. And one
Oh,
of them has like a
sure.
little of mayonnaise, and one of them has a little ranch.
Yeah.
And then maybe you do like a blue cheese.
Do the
Okay.
again. Takes me back to 2 hours ago.
Yeah. What's the caption on that?
I
We'll
don't
work on it.
What happened
me,
2 hours ago?
Me using condiments has nothing to do
You
with
smelled
the
it.
I did.
quality of food. I need a dipping sauce.
Yeah, I mean, I don't take offense to it, but you say no matter how good a steak or how good a meal is,
I
you just
need that
always have
dipping
to-
sauce, and it's not a knock on how good the steak is or the pizza. I love sauce. I just need to dip it in something.
The man needs the sauce.
There's one pizza I don't use a dipping sauce for though.
One pizza that you don't.
One brand of pizza that I don't. Papa Murphy's.
Slurps you don't do.
Because it's fresh. Like when it comes out of the oven, I don't. Especially since I discovered the creamy garlic.
Oh yeah,
I
you're
don't
big-
need to dip it in
That is
anything.
your sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is your sauce at that point.
But if you're at like a restaurant and you get pizza, do you dip it?
Yeah.
But that's fresher than the Papa Murphy's.
There's something about Papa Murphy's I just don't. I don't dip it in anything.
See, Papa Murphy, that's a high school thing that got ruined for me because we would go to this one kid's house like every Friday, and his mom would always just get so much Papa Murphy's, and the amount of Papa Murphy's I must have consumed was too much.
Just
like
too
I
much.
hit whatever kind of taste aversion satiation threshold. It's just
You
like,
never came back around and
yeah,
started
just, I don't-
liking it again.
Yeah, it's just kind of yeah.
We got this when I talk about it now. I can't believe that we did this as kids, but we would get like the little the Boboli crust, right? And then we would just put a ton of just medium cheddar cheese on it with sauce and everything. But like,
Was this fat camp?
it was every Friday, and then we would watch TGIF.
Who brought
We
the
would
sharp cheddar?
Yeah, it was just
Get this guy out of here.
it was just like a pound of medium cheddar cheese.
My palate doesn't want to be stimulated.
I
that
feel like
much.
we all had that food or something we had all the time where like it got you to. It's like when you drink something too much and the smell of it makes you want to throw up.
Yeah.
But I feel like at some point after a few years you go back around, because for me it was Jack in the Box. My mom worked at Jack in the Box, so whenever fucking idiots would order something and then like just run off,
She would bring
she'd
it
call
home.
us and be like, hey, we have 12 ultimate cheeseburgers just sitting here. You guys want to pick it up before we throw it away? And then she'd bring home some other shit. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I ate so much Jack in the Box that I didn't eat it for years after she stopped working there. And now I like it again.
I would love this. Like, I love the smell of Benihana and Benihana fried rice and everything. Like, my entire everything smells like it when I leave. But like, if I worked there,
Yeah.
like, I can't imagine that I would like that smell very much. I hopefully like
You'd
they
find
have like
shrimp shells in your pocket.
Yeah, it's like, damn it, not again.
I can't do Cheez-Its anymore, like Goldfish,
Oh, okay,
because I had like a pukey experience as a kid.
sure.
Never came back to
Never
it.
came back to it. All right.
Also, vis-a-vis chocolate milk at my college cafeteria, it was like all you could, like they just had
Oh, they
like,
had
That's
a,
the
a
best
chocolate
shit.
milk
the push it
fountain.
That's
machines,
the best
but it was
shit.
with milk, and like there were two types of cups. There were 12-ounce cups and then 16-ounce cups. Of kind of like
Holy
the
hell.
like the Coke
God.
plastic variety. And you'd always hunt down the 16-ounce cups and double fist them and go for the chocolate milk. So you'd have 32 combined ounces of chocolate milk. My roommate would always.
That's why you're lactose intolerant.
Yeah,
Jesus
I know you
Christ.
did.
My roommate would always like they would have the cookies too, and like they were the big like M&M ones or chocolate chip ones, like the Safeway style. And then he would always double decker them on top of each mug.
Was it just like a daily food challenge you guys were doing?
No, it was just like we played pickup basketball, and I think we felt like we earned it. That also, his style of transportation also instituted kind of like, I guess this was a prank, where you just fucking hit it as hard as you could and try to drive the cookie into the milk.
Jesus Christ.
I feel really,
You were just like an advertisement or something, where you're just
I
thinking.
feel
that-
really bad for whoever had to clean up after
Oh,
us
you're
in
such a
retrospect.
dick.
That's the best chocolate milk, though. That shit that came out of that machine.
It was so good.
Yeah. Let's see, in college, when you talk about the chocolate milk thing, I ended up with some like chocolate like vodka or chocolate flavored vodka or chocolate liqueur or
Was this
something
like
like
a
that.
pinnacle?
That's Burnett's.
So it might have
That's
been.
Burnett's.
It might have been. And so
$7.
I remember sneaking. I was like, okay, what goes with this? And it was Civil War. And I was going to the game and I wanted to sneak in alcohol. I was like, well, what goes with this? So I legitimately also bought chocolate milk. So I had chocolate milk and
That's fucking
It was
Jesus
so
Christ.
awful. It was so bad.
Might as well just
It was
drink that
not
in the
the- it
bathroom
was
if
not
that's
the
what
right
you're gonna do.
combo.
Terrible.
It was-
Burnett's vodka is the first time I ever threw up from drinking.
Wow.
I was a senior
Yeah.
in college, by the way. I wasn't very cool.
That was the first time you drank, you mean?
No, that was the first time I threw up from drinking.
Oh.
But it also goes to show how little, like I'm not a big man, so obviously
Not
I
a big
wasn't
man.
drinking
Not
very
a big
much.
man.
That's impressive,
shots
though.
at
Burnett's
Burnett's.
is what got you there?
Yeah, it
Because
got
that
me.
means you had, I mean, I don't know what your tolerance was back then, but
HRT
well,
and-
Burnett's is like one of the lowest ABV.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's so cheap.
Sure. Okay, so then, I mean, you probably just had so much of it.
No.
Oh, no, don't bail me out
No.
like that. No, I was trying to give you an out.
I think that night I had like a combined. Well, actually, I know I had a combined 7 drinks because for the rest of senior year, people called me 7 Beer Wonder, which in retrospect,
Great nickname.
Yeah.
can you imagine? Well,
Wanna
maybe
see the
but,
7
like,
wonders of the
I
world?
can't
You're looking at
imagine
'em,
drinking
baby.
7 things in an evening. Like I would probably die at this juncture.
7? I mean, that's about, how many do you have this past weekend?
5.
5. Okay, so that's not far off. Felt
No,
not,
but I couldn't have gone 2 more.
No, yeah, he didn't feel good the next day, probably. Okay, so then what is the alcohol that you can't drink anymore without like getting like the gag reflex? Just like even the smell of it turns you off.
Think this is less from like throwing it up and more just it's disgusting. Is like, wait, hold on. What's Fireball? But they sponsored you guys.
Oh,
one
yeah.
time. I feel really
That's
bad.
one time.
Yeah, it was a one-timer.
But it's
a
Fireball. I
one-timer.
cannot.
You can't do
I
the Fireball.
Can't handle
huh?
it.
Well,
Oh God.
yeah,
Kills me.
For me, it is any iteration of a spiced rum. Sailor Jerry's, Captain Morgan.
Kraken.
Oh, yeah. It's just like there's
The Kraken
nothing.
is like 100 proof too. Like the other ones are like.
I mean, if you're gonna
70.
do it, go 100 proof. So you don't need that much.
There's
of
just I cannot do spiced rum in anything.
What
Not
would you-
even mixed.
What would you rather have, mayonnaise in coffee or spiced rum in coffee?
I would probably take mayonnaise.
Wow,
I would.
it's that bad.
I accidentally put, at least to try it, if you're saying one time, I accidentally, I was in kindergarten, but this is like a foundational moment, like a core memory for me. We ran out of jam, and so I decided to put peanut butter and mayonnaise together on a sandwich, thinking, oh, they're interchangeable. They're not.
That's pretty close to a grilled Charlie, which is an incredible sandwich.
Talk more about a grilled Charlie.
Are you?
I
You're
don't
joking.
I don't want to ruin the grilled Charlie. Grilled Charlie is peanut butter outside, butter inside, mayo. They're gonna kill people that are hardcore It's Always Sunny fans. Will fucking
Oh,
crucify me if I get the sandwich wrong.
Okay, you want me to tell you?
Yeah,
Okay, so it is 2 slices of bread, peanut butter, creamy. Coat one side of one piece of butter, 2 American cheese singles, butter, and Hershey's chocolate syrup.
that's a grilled Charlie.
That sounds pretty disgusting. Have you guys ever done like a griddle top, like a stove top PB&J? Like
No,
you
but that
make,
sounds awesome.
Yeah, you make the PB&J, you put a little butter on the outside, and then do like a croque monsieur on the, and then it gets like a.
Is a croque
Golden
monsieur
brown.
another way of just grilling? You know, doing a grilled cheese.
I think a croque monsieur, yeah, it's like a grilled ham and cheese, but French, and they're just like, oh, we have put our stamp on this.
Mm-hmm. That's
I've never had that, but
Perfect.
I don't doubt that I would like it. I like hot sandwiches.
Miguel, as the accent meister, what did you think of the French accent?
8 out of 10.
We
8 out of 10. That's what it was, you asshole.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So before we get to the Masters talk, your drink that you can't drink.
peppermint schnapps
Oh,
and
okay.
Well,
Tanqueray.
I mean,
And Tang.
Tanqueray, the gin.
Oh, Tanqueray. I thought it was like, what was peppermint schnapps and
I always
Tang
called it
doing
Tanqueray.
together?
Peppermint schnapps is the only drink in high school that I could drink without a chaser. So that's all I drink. So whenever people would make a liquor run, I'm like, give me peppermint schnapps because I don't need to chase it with anything. Now I can't fucking smell that without wanting to throw up.
yeah, if you were drinking straight peppermint schnapps for years, that would.
Yeah. And the gin is just that was gin and Pepsi. I'm just
What?
double fisting
Why
and
would you
chasing it
do
with Pepsi. I
that?
wasn't making a drink. This is like
Yeah.
high school and like gin, Pepsi, and then I was outside, threw up, rolled over my own puke.
Oh,
it was
God.
fucking terrible.
Yikes.
Gin and Pepsi.
Gin and, yeah. There's
I mean, at that point when you're handed a bottle of liquor, whatever it is, you're just
drinking
you're
whatever's
just drinking
not that.
whatever to chase it, whatever they had.
Have you ever, when someone is taking a shot and then they go, give me a chaser, and they're just like so drunk, but then you give them a shot of like lemon or lime juice? You ever done that?
No, I usually drink with people I like.
Oh, yeah.
So don't really try to fuck
Well,
with people.
Be warned.
I've
Be
never
warned.
done chasers. Like, I don't really get it.
Oh.
Like, I realize this kind of goes, like, is a funny juxtaposition with the guy you threw up after a few shots of Burnett's, and maybe I should have used a chaser.
Yeah, maybe.
But, like, I
consider it.
just don't, like, the taste's already in there. It's not washing it out.
Well, it makes. I think it's more of like a
like a
early
palate balancer,
or just like something in your head when you're drinking when you were younger. It's like, oh, you need to chase it with something. It's not something you need. It's something that's like programmed. It's like, oh, you just need a chaser when you're drinking alcohol, and you do it less as you grow older.
Yeah,
Like I don't do chasers now, but I did it when I was younger when I started drinking.
Well, kids these days will not know what it was like to buy a unregulated Four Loko. So, those were the times. Those were the times. You know who probably drank a lot of Four Lokos back in the day was Brooks Koepka. who came in
Great
second place in the Masters this past weekend. He was the leader for 3 rounds and then found himself in second place, giving up, like 6 or 8 strokes on the final day between finishing his 3rd round and into the final round. Miguel needs to save some money for the rest of us. Keeps winning these bets. Placed a live better after round 1 on Jon Rahm. I went the route of Viktor Hovland. If for people who listened or watched last week, there was this stat where basically 1 in 5 Masters winners had either the sole lead or a co-lead on day 1. So if you led after day 1 or you co-led on day 1, the chances of you winning the Masters 1 in 5. So Miguel and I don't know if you used that logic or if you just kind of liked the bet. But
I used that logic on placing the Koepka bet.
Okay, on the Koepka bet.
Because he was leading, but when we were sitting here, I was like, Rahm is sitting at plus 850. I'm going to pick 2 winners and put my money on them, and that $15 turned into 140.
Yeah, so I went with the Viktor Hovland route. And
Which is what, like plus 1,000 or something?
Yeah, it was like right around plus 1,000, and it was like Koepka was the leader, the favorite at that point. Then it was Rahm, then it was Hovland. I'm like, wow, if they're all 3 tied, let's just take a guy with the longest odds, and that proved to not be so good for me.
God, I tell you what, I don't want to jinx it, but I told you I have not had to deposit money in the DraftKings since July.
Feeling good.
I want to hit
You're
a
winning
year.
not even during.
I want to hit a fucking year. Because normally all the bets, like, because of Walsh's thing, like most of my winning bets would come from football. Because NBA is, like, hard to pin down.
Yeah,
but I have been winning NBA bets the last 6 months, and now this golf bet, so we're sitting pretty.
Well, I mean, like, Brooks Koepka is, like, famous for saying that he doesn't care about anything other than the major. So, I mean, if you just, like, place a top 10 bet on Brooks Koepka, like, every major, like, chances are that's going to cash. Because
Did
that's
he
all
finish
he cares
top 10?
About. Yeah, he finished second. Tied for second. Yeah, tied for second with Phil, who had an amazing final day. And what was interesting is that, like, Mickelson was, like, at, I don't know, right around even par, and he was just like, man, I'm swinging it really well. Like, it's just like, it's going to come. It's about to come. It's about to happen. And then, like, all of a sudden, he was at 8 under, and you like knew that he wanted that. Like, with him being the face of Live and all this other stuff, like, you could tell how much, like, feeling that moment meant for him. And I'll tell you what, so, like, Brooks Koepka, so Jon Rahm wins his first Masters. He had won one other major, the Players' Championship, back in 2020, I think it was. But I think that, and I don't know if you guys will agree with this, Brooks Koepka, also on the Live Tour, was the leader for 3 rounds. They only play 3 rounds of golf in Live. And I just kind of wonder from the competitive balance standpoint if he either got tired or if he just, like, got in his head. He's a bit of a he's a bit of a hothead, and I know that the whole Patrick Cantlay thing, I don't know if you guys have seen this report, he was, like, super pissed off at the pairing in front of him with Patrick Cantlay and Viktor Hovland. Cantlay was just slow, and you could tell that was, like, starting to irk Brooks, and then he just got in his own head. He got irritated and then started pecking away. So those are the 2 possibilities, that he just, like, got irritated and then it messed with his game, or he just didn't have the stamina to finish.
I think it's easy to nitpick once, shit fell apart for him, but I would lean towards just getting in his own head. I don't think Liv has been around long enough for them to not be used to the structure. I mean, Liv's been around for a year.
Yeah.
So for him, to blame, like, I'm not saying that he is. I know it's speculation from everyone else, but I don't think doing the 3 rounds versus 4 rounds will affect them.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Liv
these guys
been
play
for
so
that
much
long.
golf. I mean, these guys can play 36 holes in a day. So I can kind of, but, still, when your brain is kind of, like, rewired a little bit.
He also had a pretty bad knee injury, right? I don't know if he just.
I mean, like, he has been injured. Like, he
could have physically just lost a little. Steam.
He was talking about, it was interesting. It seemed like he was being very introspective for the week, like playing so many tournaments, 72 holes every weekend, being away, traveling, all of this. Part of the reason why he joined Live was just like to not do
More
that.
money, less golf.
More money, less golf. I mean, that's
Like all these hypocrites are like, oh, you're disrespecting the PGA. Like, you don't think you would leave your fucking job, which is not really leaving it.
Yeah.
You don't think you'd leave it for $140 million fucking dollars?
How many people
Fucking
say,
hypocrite.
I want to get paid for doing less work? I mean, we all say that, right? And so, but it was interesting to hear Brooks Koepka in the weekend saying, had I been healthier when this decision came around, I may have second-guessed a little bit whether or not he went to live. But I do think that this has given him the opportunity to get a little bit healthier, as to what Alex was saying, which was, him dealing with some injuries for a while.
Shout out, though. Top 2 finishers in the Masters are Sun Devils.
Oh, really? That's right.
Jon Rahm, Phil Mickelson.
That would have been so crazy to see, and it just would have been... It's going to happen. It's got to happen if Liv does actually stay around for a while. When you see a liver get a green jacket on by a PGA player, like just the how pissed off PGA people will be, or PGA purists will be, when they see a live player getting a jacket put on them by a PGA player, the guy who won the previous year. I think it'll happen. But
They need to suck it up.
I just
get
think
over it.
I'm glad it happened to golf. Just like I think the kind of concept of like a gentleman's sport is just such a goofy one, and I feel like golf really like leverages that one a lot. And then all of a sudden, it's like a bunch of PGA guys who have to pretend to be aghast by like, I can't believe these golfers wanted more money. They're really. It's just like what? Why would they feel brand loyalty? I don't get it. Like they don't even play for like the PGA is not a team. You know what I mean? Like
It's such a
a weird respect the shield thing from the NFL.
old school, closed-minded group. It's like it doesn't make any sense.
bunch of old white guys who are just
so
like embedded in
hypocritical.
tradition.
This is like the pickleball tennis, like tete-a-tete, where it's just like awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's drawn from the same set of people, and it's just like, what are you guys even fighting about? Like, but everyone's so mad.
What is the what is it? Who are you doing this
Yeah.
against?
It's like your main argument is the tradition, and what's that tradition becoming? Bullying anyone who wants to step away from it. It's like
who may or may not like. I mean, gosh, people prioritize all the time looking to improve their living conditions, the ability to have a better work-life balance. I get that. It is a bit, where people say, who they're taking that money from. And it was interesting to hear, like, Charles Barkley, who I heard him on the Dan Patrick show the other day, but he was just like, we all take money from people we're not supposed to take money from, and we don't even know it.
That is the biggest bullshit take. It's like, oh, it's Saudi money, it's 9/11 money and all this shit. It's like, where do you think Ping makes their shit? Where do you think Callaway makes their fucking apparel? Like, you think that
you're not going to be able to buy anything or do anything if that's always your logic. I mean, it's just
get
not.
over it. You're holding a smartphone that was made in China by a fucking 4-year-old. So
right.
Get over it.
Exactly. In a sweatshop condition. Congratulations to Jon Rahm. I did think that this was pretty awesome, where he actually kind of manifested his own.
The tweet?
Yeah, he had the tweet from back in 2013.
From
where,
a Panda Express fortune cookie.
From a
I know Panda Express fortune
from
cookie.
a Panda
when I see
Express
one.
fortune cookie, and it says, I need to bring it back over because I can't read it from that far away. It says, your talents will be recognized and suitably rewarded. And it does say Panda Express on it. And he tweeted back in 2013, I'm gonna win the Masters. So pretty fun.
10 years later.
10 years later, there he was.
That's how hard golf is.
Yeah. I mean,
10
seriously.
years. This guy, it's not like he just took up golf. It took 10 years for that to come
was
to
good
fruition.
then, right,
Yeah, he was very good then.
I was really bummed to not see, a guy who had surprised everyone the previous year, Will Zalatoris. He had to withdraw right before because he just was playing in pain, and he ended up getting surgery,
It's like a lamendectomy or
Micro
something.
penis?
Yeah, no, come on.
Oh, sorry.
Poor guy. I mean, like, he's like the day before the Masters, and then you have to withdraw because you're injured. He did just get a season-ending or year-ending surgery now.
I was
So
really
it's-
rooting for the amateur guy, the 23-year-old
Bennett,
Sam
the guy
Bennett.
who looks like fucking Dabo Sweeney.
Yeah.
Have you seen the side-by-side on that? It's insane.
I mean, can you imagine a low amateur 23-year-old winning the fucking Masters
Yeah.
his first
Well,
time?
you know
That
what he
would've been
did was
insane.
he put his foot in his mouth because like he was at 8 under through like 2 or 3
He was
through 2
third at
rounds.
one
yeah.
point.
He was third at one point, and then he goes up there in his post round press conference, and he talks about how one of the previous rounds that he had done earlier in the year, how that course was way harder than Augusta National. And it just like from there, it just went downhill.
Yeah, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, just don't jinx yourself, dude. Don't do it.
You know Augusta talks back. don't make
Augusta
the course
does
go
talk
against
back.
you.
Augusta talks back hard, and I felt so bad for Tiger. It was just like so tough to watch him like limp around on that third day. And, everyone knows, like, he was injured from that car accident. He's never really been the same. I didn't realize this. Jason Day had told this story because he was paired with Tiger Woods during the 2022 PGA Championship, and then he told this story this weekend, so a year later. And Jason Day said that he was talking with Tiger, who said that he had to pull out of the PGA Championship last year because one of the screws that was put in his leg had punctured through his skin, and he was playing with a punctured screw coming out of his body. Just like, walking up and down those hills. And so it's just like, we're never going to see Tiger in the same way. It really sucks, but,
They should make an exception where he's the only one who could take a golf cart.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
the guy's done enough for the sport. Let him
have the
But
golf cart.
the thing is, golf is that one sport where, like, the John Daly's of the world can still play. As old as Nicklaus was, he can still play. And they're playing because they still want to play, but Tiger has nothing left to prove. The greatest golfer
Yeah, I mean, other than to actually catch Jack Nicklaus.
I don't know.
He hasn't caught him, but
I feel like golf is a completely different argument as far as the sport compared to the greatest of all time when it comes to basketball or football, because I think the level of competition that Tiger has faced compared to Jack is night and day. I think Tiger's competition, I mean, these guys are so much better than who Jack faced back then.
yeah, I mean,
you cannot
honestly,
make an
for
argument for basketball where, like, so and so in the 80s, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, and all this shit. Like, in golf, who was the best golfer that Jack Nicklaus had to play against?
Right. I mean, like, he played,
Tom Watson?
yeah, Fred Couples
So-
later on. Oh, who's the guy that maybe it's Watson who I'm thinking of,
But then you have who's Tiger had to go up against.
sure.
Like a fucking list of
the
people.
list of people has gotten a lot greater, and the game has gotten more diverse. Still could be, continue to be diverse, but yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like, a guy who will seemingly never win at Augusta will be Rory. The guy who goes from the favorite to win the damn thing to not even making the cut. How embarrassing for him.
That's just karma because he's a hypocritical bitch. Rory will never win.
Well then.
Good luck segueing that one.
You know who will never win are the Portland Trailblazers when it comes to the
Oh!
playoffs.
We're in Portland, just so you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, we are here locally in Portland. It's interesting. The Blazers don't make the playoffs again. They intentionally had to miss the playoffs because if they didn't, they weren't going to get a first-round pick. They desperately need a first-round pick, so they missed the playoffs. To hear Damian Lillard's comments this past weekend, he had his exit interview. I want to play this for you guys. I want to talk kind of extensively about Dame because he's been criticized when it comes to his loyalty. We've talked about that on the show before. Let's listen to Dame and what he thinks or what he wants to do coming into the off season and whether or not that'll work.
I don't have much of an appetite for building and, guys 2 and 3 years away from really going after it. You know what I'm saying? And, I think we get Shaden at 19 and he's just different. You know what I'm saying? I think he, just being around him, his disposition, how he listens, his frame, his natural talent, and his ability. I think, that's enough 19-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? And you probably won't find one that will come along the way he has. But I'm just not. I just ain't interested in that. Being honest, and this is not a secret. You know what I mean? I want a chance to go for it, and if the route is to do that, then that's not my route. So I think we all in line with doing what we got to do to put a team together that we can actually go out there and get something done. You know what I mean?
So that is Dame talking about whether the team will rebuild or whether or not the team will actually put veteran talent around him. And he says he thinks that everyone is aligned. Joe Cronin, the GM, says our goal is to put veteran talent around him. But the goal is can you make the trades necessary? Can you convince free agent talent to come? So far, no.
Well,
they haven't been able to.
That's him saying, you guys either put pieces around me so we can make a run for it or let me go. Because this is Dame is praised for his loyalty. And he's always been
also
looked at.
criticized for his loyalty.
Less people criticizing him, though. The people that are criticizing him are the same people criticizing every other player in the league for making moves. The only difference between him and the unlikable guys like the Kyries and the Kevin Durants and the LeBron James is those guys basically made moves way sooner than when Dame decided to take the stand. It's like they wanted to do it early. They wanted an early chance at a ring. So they started fucking moving around and teaming up. Dame, after 44 years, finally got there.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm ready to win a fucking ring, and I want to be in the position to do that.
This is the hardest stance that I've heard Dame talk before.
I don't think anyone in Portland would begrudge him a trade request. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of he probably earned it a couple years ago.
I think he's done enough for the city that I see enough fans going, you know what?
Yeah.
If we're not going to be able to do it for him, let him do it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think he, as much as he's taking the stance right now, he's so loyal to the city and to the team that it's going to have to be Portland to go, we cannot do it for you. To reward your loyalty, we have to let you go.
I think that this is the closest that he will come to a trade request
without saying.
Without saying,
let me go.
he goes, if your ultimate decision, we're the Bachelor, the Bachelorette, right? You have your two finalists. You're either going to, put the pieces around me, and I am fine with that, or you've got to or if you choose to do the rebuild, I don't want to be part of that, and that is officially my trade request. But I'm not going to say it's my trade request. Yeah. And I think that when you look at the state of the Blazers are in such a tough position because they don't technically have an owner. They do, but I mean, she's Paul Allen's sister. She's running the active trust until what it says in the will is that it will be sold. So, I mean, she may have a vested interest in one way or another, make the team look really good for the next owner, or just dump it all and say, here are all of these draft picks that you can have. Now you can build this team how you want.
I will never understand the Blazers management, though, because it's been proven to us that there's a way if you want to make the leap. And there's only two things that I'm seeing with Portland Trailblazers. They either have somebody in charge who don't know what the fuck they're doing. I feel like you can pull 5 guys who play 2K all the time that could build a season, that could do a better job. Or they're not willing to swing for the fences. And it's like we are comfortable enough just having an average to above average team that could squeak into the playoffs. But you've seen from the Raptors, they could drop everything, get Kawhi, get a ring. And that ring will last for 50 years. People will remember that forever. That's how important championships are. You know, you've seen Milwaukee make those moves little by little. You see Oklahoma City suck for the last 5 years, and now you're seeing their young core in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're in the play-in.
You see the Brooklyn Nets completely tear apart their whole team, and now look what they got. Now they're in the playoffs. They got rid of all the fucking Kyries and the James Harden and the Kevin Durants. The Blazers, it seems like they're just so stagnant, and they are the perfect definition of a team that's just passing the same fish back and forth. Oh, we'll get rid of CJ, we'll get Jeremy Grant. Same fucking player.
The thing is that when they decided that it wasn't going to work with Terry, that like, oh, Terry's the issue here, that really that should have been the time to just tear the whole thing, right? Where you just go like, we got to this point and we've proven with this nucleus that we can't do it. It's not just Terry, because like then you had, you brought in Chauncey and that didn't do anything for you either.
No, and
right?
It's so weird because they were not content with what they had with what I will call like the Stotts, Lillard, McCollum era, right? Like 5 years of like, yeah, of course we're going to make the playoffs. We're going to be somewhere between the 3rd and the 6th seed. We'll either, have a spunky performance in a series we don't have a chance of winning, and like the best case scenario is when they beat the Nuggets that one year and then they lost to the Warriors.
Right, in 2019.
And like the absolute like Death Star Warriors, where it's just like, I feel like they should have put a banner up for that season, like made the Western Conference Finals during the Durant Warrior years. Like that's a hell of an achievement. And then they decided that was not enough, right? But then they have kind of just limped along with like a far inferior version of that, as opposed to like either pushing it all in the middle or completely blowing it up. Like, and it's so strange to me that they were like, nope, this isn't working. We're going to fire Stotts. We're going to trade McCollum. And then we're going to build a worse team around Damian Lillard.
Right.
It's almost like you can put like a board in front of them. Say, this is our roster. And then this is what we need right here. This is what we need to improve. But what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this guy, but we can't lose what he brings to the team, so we're going to bring the exact same player. But we're going to stick with this one, hoping that the potential we think he has, he's going to meet. Nurkic, great example. He's not the big. He's not the big that's going to get him over the hump. You can find a younger big that could develop to something like Kevon Looney is better than fucking Nurkic.
Well, and then you go off and you give, like, right after trading CJ to clear the books there, what did you do? You paid $100 million to Anthony Simons. Like, that wasn't the point.
Yeah.
That wasn't the point.
I don't get that at all.
It was just like same fish, right? Now you have another $100 million guard, and you go, that wasn't the point here. And so that's why I think that the best thing that the Blazers could do at this point is to just let Dame go.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone, like, Dame has been nothing but loyal to you. And he has been a great ambassador for you when you think about the future of this franchise, and especially what the going rate for a star player is. We've seen it through Kevin Durant and how many assets can be moved through there. You saw it with Rudy Gobert, where you have like 2 people plus 3 picks plus other stuff. Like, I mean, it's crazy the type of play, like what you can move around.
Trade him to Philadelphia for like Maxey and some other young guy and some picks and like see what happens. And then like,
I
don't know if that's the geographic opposite of Portland is Philadelphia, but like it seems pretty opposite.
I mean, I don't know. I was trying to think like what team could kind of put this type of thing together. And I mean, like you can stretch your first round picks out until like 2027 or 28 at this point. So, I mean, you can throw first rounders for years down the way. And I just think at this point, like, we shouldn't expect. I don't think that you can expect the Blazers to get these. Say you do make moves and you bring a couple of guys in. I don't feel like. I'm just curious, like what iteration here. Like what capital, what free agent, what this whole thing. Could you get Joel Embiid in here? I don't think so.
No.
You know, like you can't. Like, I mean, everyone's thinking because
Jeremy
the delusional.
Jeremy Grant's probably the best case free agent scenario, honestly.
The thing that's really frustrating is if you're a diehard Blazers fan, you've seen them sort of come close with pieces just for them to fuck it up all over again.
Yeah.
Like Josh Hart, one of the best role players in the league right now. You have somebody like Josh Hart as a complementary player to a scorer like Jeremy Grant, Dame Lillard, and then these young guys like Sharp and Little that they have. You're only 2 or 3 pieces away of guys that could actually defend, protect the rim, and all of that. That could get them over the hump of not just making the playoffs, but getting far. But then they build this roster and they make these moves, and then they get kind of close, and then they fuck it all up all over again.
It's also hilarious to me that they timed this perfectly for like the Western Conference to crater as soon as they got shitty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
like if you had the 2018 Blazers team now, you'd be like, oh wow, like they're the 3rd seed and they have a 2nd round matchup with the Kings if only they can get by the Gobertless Timberwolves.
No, totally.
And it's just like, man,
it felt
couldn't
like
have done worse.
It felt like Neil Olshey was always trying to prepare or trying to angle for the Warriors when they were supposed to, like, all their contracts were supposed to expire in like 2020, right? It always felt like he was like kicking the can to 2020. It's like, by the time that happens, we're going to be ready to contend. But what he wasn't prepared for was everyone else to get better around him, around them in the league. And so it was just kind of these like singles that he kept making.
Al-Farouq Aminu.
Yeah, I mean, like, even it was
Mo
just
Harkless. Like, not bad players, but it's like...
But you give $70 million to an Evan Turner, who will always tell you that he deserved
That's
that.
the worst part is not
75 to Allen Crabbe.
Not only do they get these below average players, but they fucking overpay them.
They overpay
that
them.
eventually fucks them over.
I just, like, that... I mean, you go back to that 2016 offseason, like, that was really, like... It was over as soon as it started. You know what I mean?
With Allen
like,
Crabbe?
Yeah, like Wes Matthews got hurt, and then it's like,
Yeah.
holy crap, CJ McCollum's been sitting on the bench for 2 years, but it turns out he's a 20-point-a-game scorer.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was 15,
That's-
not to correct you, but it was 15.
Thank you.
Either way.
And then all of a sudden it's like Allen Crabbe, Evan Turner,
Right.
Myers Leonard 4 for 40. Like, and
Yeah.
it's just like it was over as soon as it started.
Because what Neil will always tell you is that it was like, I gave those contracts knowing that they would be favorable contracts by the time they ended.
But they weren't. No one
He's
wanted
an
to trade for
egotistical
him.
fuck who didn't have good relationships
shitty
with other
players.
GMs, and every move he made just didn't make any fucking
The
sense.
best move he made was probably the Nurkic trade, which is hilarious. But like post CJ pick, like that's probably the best move of his tenure is the Nurkic trade.
You know that you
because then you got a first rounder out of that too.
Yeah, and
you know that
startable
you're
center.
not a good GM and you're not a good organization when you make these moves and all you're doing is you're not thinking of the big pictures like this is going to make our team better. But guess what we're doing? We're making these teams we're dealing with much better than us. It's like, "Oh yeah, we'll get Nurkic." Guess what you did? Look how good the Nuggets are now.
But yeah, just let him go. You were talking about a team, bottom 5 in terms of defense. One of those teams, actually top 3 in the West this year, is the Sacramento Kings, and they're facing a Warriors team which sucked on the road this year. What do you guys think of the Sacramento Kings? I do feel like there's a lot of like Blazers fans that are rooting for them. Small market team, very kind of similar, like great offense, terrible defense, and then against the Warriors, do you guys give them any chance?
Well, it's hard. First of all, I'm pretty sure this is the first time in NBA history that the 3 seed is an underdog compared to the 6 seed.
Right.
They're like plus 230 to win the series, but it's hard. It's hard to not root for the Kings. They've sucked for a long time.
It's so bad.
But they, unlike the Blazers, they have made slow moves here and there where they were able to get De'Aaron Fox and a Sabonis, and now they can compete.
Well, and then you take Mike Brown, who was the lead assistant from the Warriors, who probably stole a ton of stuff from Steve Kerr, a lot of tendencies, maybe even schematics or whatever. So I think that possibly, too, like, you say, who's going to out-coach the other one? Well, Steve Kerr is going to out-coach Mike Brown.
I just think the Warriors are not a team you want to face in the postseason when they're all healthy.
Yeah.
I think I don't see anyone, and not just Sacramento, I don't see Memphis, I don't see Denver beating Golden State. And I'm talking about a full Golden State team. Like Draymond, Clay, Steph, Poole, they're all there. I don't see them losing.
I mean, I think that it takes a lot to win on the road. It takes a lot to play defense. And is this Warriors team able to do that? And I mean, they were historically bad on the road. But you seem to, like, you're riding with them, it sounds like.
Golden State? Yeah, I put a future on them to win the fucking championship. How could you? The thing with Golden State is there's several teams in the league that has a superstar, which I think you need that guy or those guys to win a championship. I don't care how great your system is. You need a Steph. You need a LeBron. You need someone. You need a Kevin Durant to win a championship because there's a gear that they can turn on that other players don't have. With Golden State, you have those great players, and then you have a system to go with it. And this is what Alex brought up, that another thing we disagreed with. He's like, I don't think Clay's that great because Clay
he just said that.
Clay.
Look at that shit-eating grin.
But
you were just baiting him is what you were
But
doing.
here's the thing with Clay is
wait, which thing is he talking about? I can't remember.
Clay, his point was Clay is one of the best, like, off a screen, catch and shoot 3-pointers, right?
I think what I said was that, like, if you made Klay Thompson the focal point of the offense, he wouldn't be able to carry it.
Right. So he can't create his own shot. Like, he's a catch and shoot guy is essentially what you're saying.
He's not the number one guy in the group is
but
what he's saying.
My argument with that is if you take Clay, because it's like the LeBron Jordan argument, right? LeBron can do this, Michael can't do this, vice versa. There are some things that Michael was never asked to do that LeBron had to do for those teams. Clay has never been asked to carry the team because he's part of such a great system where the entire team is setting screens where him and Steph are just fucking running around. And then they get open. And yeah, you could argue some of those are fucking illegal screens, but guess what? It's worked for 4 championships. Who gives a fuck?
It is nice that Clay is actually healthy at this point. It's nice, to hear him say how good he feels at this stage.
But I think Clay is one of the best scorers in the league. I think he's top 20, top 25 scorers in the league that if he was in a different system and he was asked to create his own shot, I don't argue that against a guy who can score 40 points in 3 quarters. He can create his own shot. He just doesn't need to do it for this Golden State team. He can come off screens and it's like the comparison has always been him and Ray Allen. It's like, who's better? Well, Ray Allen has a bigger bag. Well, Ray Allen had to create his own shot when he was with the Sonics, when he was, Milwaukee. But when he was with Miami and Boston, he's doing what Clay's doing today because he didn't need to.
Right.
He was coming off screens. He was a catch and shoot guy. And that's all Clay has to do now. He has guys getting him open. They're so fucking deadly that you add a Jordan Poole who can knock down threes and they're good defensively. I don't see how anyone can beat him.
Well, right now, like, there's another team that when you talk about, like, role players and how a team has kind of come alive since the All-Star break, the LA Lakers, they go ahead and they trade Russ. They all of a sudden become one of the hottest teams in the NBA. They're the 7 seed. They're playing against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Wow, they are minus a guy who broke his hand, against a wall, and they're minus Rudy Gobert, who then throws hands at Kyle Anderson.
You think? I think they would have beat the Timberwolves even with Gobert.
I think so too. I think that no Gobert adds a bit of a complication a little bit for the Lakers. Just because, what type of a Minnesota team are you going to get? Who's going to stand out? Will you play down to your opponent? I do think that the Lakers could become, there's a bunch of vets who are like ingrained to think that way. So I still think that the Lakers will win. But yeah, like Rudy Gobert, I am surprised. I'm surprised and not surprised that Rudy Gobert got suspended. Because like you have like a guy in like Brandon Miller who plays for Alabama who's furnishing guns in a murder and he doesn't even get suspended. But then like
this wasn't a league suspension though, right?
No, I know it was a team one,
which
right?
I think
is
is
team one.
even funnier.
Is a bigger
where the
indictment.
team was just like, oh fuck
this guy. Yeah,
we're so tired of him already.
I think
They're
if they
on
were
the hook
just
for him for 3 more years.
Yeah, I think that if the players were like, you know what, it's in house, it was heat of the moment, whatever. Water under the bridge. They're like, no, screw this guy.
The funniest part about it being a team suspension is how much they gave up to get him.
It's unreal.
And now it's a must win, and you're like, you're sitting
I don't even
out.
understand to start with. Like, you already had Karl Anthony Towns. Like, what? Like, and I know he's not a good defender at all, but it's still like, you don't pair him with another big guy.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think that they were just. They probably should have gotten rid of Cat if they were going to bring in Gobert.
I think Gobert has fooled the entire league. I think the league sees him as this. I've never agreed with how the entire league has seen him as like he has never been the best defensive player to me. I mean, he has the same stats as like Anthony Davis healthy, Embiid healthy. How has he painted this picture of himself where he's like the greatest rim protector?
Right.
He's not.
He's got long wingspan.
I don't get it either because like how many times like I just have this when I picture Rudy Gobert, it's him in a Jazz uniform. He got switched on to Chris Paul in like the second round of the Western Conference playoffs or whatever, and Chris Paul is just toying with him, and it's just like
a 6'3" guard.
That is my enduring image of Rudy Gobert. Is just like, you know, has like a bunch of 15 and 12s with 3 blocks in the regular season, and then all of a sudden they face good teams who actually plan for the Jazz, and it's just like, ew, that's not good.
Yeah, I think that
it's good to have a player like him on your team, but he doesn't deserve the price to get him.
Yeah,
because there's the Nick Claxtons and the loonies of the league are the same as him. He doesn't have an offensive bag.
I think that the Jazz are an interesting case study as it comes to, and they didn't have as much success. 1 and 2, the top 2 players didn't really like each other. But the Jazz recognize
everyone hates Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, but the Jazz recognize this isn't going to work with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and rather than try and hang on to it, they got rid of it and they tore it down and they let it go, which is not what the Blazers did. But again, you had 2 guards that liked each other. You did have good success. The Jazz were good, but they never did anything. But they're the same thing, right? Like, do you think that the Blazers and the Jazz were any different in those things? They both were competitive, made it to the playoffs, and then did nothing.
Give Utah a year or 2, they'll be where Sacramento is now.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what they end up doing with, like, they hired a pretty young, inexperienced coach. Like, I think they hired, like, the youngest guy.
Yeah, but all these picks they got back for Gobert
and
and Mitchell
a lot of picks.
Markkanen and that Kessler guy, I mean, they're going to be good. They have a good young core.
Okay, so who do you guys think right now, who is your pick to win the NBA championship? Without odds or anything like that.
I'd like it to be LA, just to laugh at you and everybody else.
I would allow you to spend 10 minutes straight laughing in my face.
I'd like it to be LA. I don't think it's going to happen. To me, because I think it's his year, Boston or Golden State. Those are the 2. And I know you say it's disrespecting Milwaukee, but Milwaukee got fucking dismantled by Boston at home. And I just saw Boston turn it on where it's like, this is going to be our playoff matchup eventually, and let's just see what we can do. And they fucking killed them. And I think Tatum and Brown are the deadliest combo in the league right now. I don't see anyone taking down Golden State or Boston. I think it's going to be between the 2 of them.
Thoughts?
I wish I wasn't. Like, I was going to say Boston, which seems like really boring podcasting, and just have the same thing happen.
To go chalk and to have the preseason favorite to win it all.
I don't really like Boston.
Boston. I love Tatum. I don't like Boston.
Yeah.
I do think the East is going to be much more of a bloodbath. Like, I think the Milwaukee, Boston, Philadelphia, like, top 3 is, like, really strong. I think if there does end up being a Boston-Philadelphia, like, second-round series, which I think is what the scheduling has slated it to be, I think that's going to be, like, just a bloodbath.
Philly will find a way with
I don't
James
fear
Harden to
Philadelphia
lose
at
that.
all.
Joel Embiid's just so good this year. Like, he
But
is.
it's just him.
I think it's gonna be, and like Harden has some good games and then some not good games, and Maxey can have some great games and then some not good games. I always feel like that roster. There's like they always get in a series with a team that is otherwise they're equal, and then there's just like this one spot on their roster where they're just like, oh shit, I wish we had you know what I mean? Or like, Tobias Harris's contract comes back.
There's just nothing about them that scares me.
I think it's just Embiid. And I think like he by himself is probably worth like maybe 2 wins in any given series, and I'm just not sure where the other 2 are going to come from against Boston or Milwaukee. But I think that'll be a pretty brutal series.
In the West, are we just overlooking Memphis, or is Memphis's age just like kind of a reason to
and
discredit
they lost
them?
Jaren Jackson Jr. Like he blew his Achilles out, right? I'm not misremembering that.
I think you're right.
Or was,
I mean,
yeah.
I think even with a healthy Memphis team,
Bain?
if the Lakers pull off the play-in and are 7th seed, I think the Lakers beat Memphis.
You do.
Yeah. Who are you like?
I think
Memphis
Golden
is,
State and the Lakers are probably the 2 scariest teams
you
in the
talk
West.
about all bark. That's Memphis. Memphis is all show and all like. There's nothing about them that's scary. You shut down Ja. Who you got? Bane. Lakers have wing defenders. They have Vanderbilt. They have Schroeder. They can stop Bane. And then who do you have? Dylan Brooks?
I think that more than anything, the thought is like, can you wear them down and can you muck it up, right? I mean, Memphis has always been known as like a team that tries to be gritty on defense, but then also like, can you just like play in a regular game by the antics of Dylan Brooks?
Here's what I'll
give
them. I'll give them the show. I think any series that Memphis is in will be exciting because of how they play and how gritty they are. Memphis, to me, are just all a bunch of Pat Beverleys.
You know what this would be?
They're all Pat Beverleys.
This is what this will remind me of, is something earlier on in LeBron's career, was when he was with the Cavs and they played the Pacers with Lance Stevenson.
Yeah.
You know, you get like a LeBron and Dylan Brooks type of a thing. I could totally see those comparisons being drawn again.
That would be. I always like it when LeBron just like finds someone where he's just like, this man does not belong on the same court as me.
Because you know LeBron is so conscious about his image that it's like, if you have a Dylan Brooks who, you know, blows in his ear or talks shit, then LeBron is instantly gonna switch that gear, like, oh, I'm gonna take that personally, like Michael, and then I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna have that look. The camera's on me. I'm gonna have that look like I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you're gonna snarl. You're gonna make sure you know when the camera's on.
And to be fair, he's still good enough that last time Dylan Brooks did that, like did a little like flexing on him.
You don't want to poke the bear.
He just went off and fucking ruined the rest of the game for Memphis. So
you don't want to poke the bear.
I don't see Memphis beating LA. I don't see Memphis. Yeah, they can beat Minnesota if Minnesota comes out of it. I don't see them beating the Lakers.
That would be pretty boring.
My 2 picks, I think that everyone is like Denver to me, always great in the regular season, but somehow finds a way to lose and fold in the playoffs.
You know what Western Conference team I'm pulling for, and it's unfortunate that Zion isn't available, but the Pelicans are fun to watch. Ingram,
I still like CJ.
Ingram, CJ. Mm-hmm. Jonas Valanciunas and like if Zion was there, it'd be even more exciting. But I want to see them go far.
Yeah, currently the 9 seed, they will be playing.
They will be a dangerous
Thunder.
8 seed if Denver plays them.
The Pelicans would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just don't have a ton of belief in Denver.
They seem like a Western Conference or like semifinals team. You know, to me, they're the team that the Blazers beat in 2019. Very competitive, gets bounced before they get to the Western Conference Finals.
I see Denver as a 1 seed that could lose, and I wouldn't be shocked.
And maybe we'll be proved wrong because we are so wrong all the time.
I just I think Jokic is really good, but I think it's so odd that he is this 2-time, potentially 3-time in a row MVP.
They're not going to get
and
it to him.
no one is in a hurry to put Jokic in their top 5 players in the league right now. You know, it's a strange kind of disconnect between MVP frontrunner seemingly in perpetuity and also just he's really good. He's in the back half of the top 10 of NBA players right now, and it's just also I wish he'd wear sleeves. He always has some freaking cougar gash on his arm.
Yeah, he gets.
And it's
he gets torn apart down low.
This might be a kind of a cheesy take, but I feel like to be a championship team or to play in the finals or just to be one of those teams, you have to have your best guys, your stars, have some fucking fire in their belly just to push everyone. Jokic is the guy for Denver, but Jokic he's just great at everything, but he's not the guy who's going to rah-rah everyone.
Sure.
You know, he'll pad the stats, not because he's trying to, but because he's just so fucking good.
Right. It's kind of like you have a salesperson or someone in work who's just so good, so such a grinder, but that's just they don't want to be a leader. They don't want to.
There's an intensity missing.
Yeah. There's just I'm just good at my job, but that's as far as it goes. I'll tell you the two that I think will come out of each conference. I think, and again, I will put conditions on this. You hate that I do this, but it's conditional on health. And I think that if both teams are healthy, I think that the Suns come out of the West, and I think that the Bucks come out of the East. And so again, if Chris Middleton goes down for the Bucks, they're totally screwed. Yeah, we saw it last year, right?
The Suns are an interesting case because I don't feel like anyone really knows what they're going to look like just because Durant had the calf pull.
I mean, he's just so injured all the time. And Chris Paul, always injured in the playoffs. Kevin Durant, always injured in the playoffs. But I mean, you've seen them together, and you're God, that's good. You're very good. I hate that you're good, but you're good. And so that's why I think, the Suns, they get the Clippers. It'll be kind of I imagine, a really chippy series because there's a lot of personalities in there.
Yeah. Is George going to be ready for Game 1?
No.
I think he's done.
He's done?
No, just early. So he could come back if they get past the Suns.
Oh, that's too bad.
You know what I think is holding the Suns back? That's why I don't even bring them up in conversation to a team that I fear. I think Ayton.
Yeah.
He could be so much better than who he is right now.
Well, Ayton didn't even want to be there. I mean, that was such a storyline entering this season. He was so pissed off.
Right?
Yeah, he was so pissed off that they matched it. It was well, I guess I'm here. So, and then all of a sudden things are going to go again in the playoffs, heat of the battle, and then what's going to happen with the rotations? Monty Williams is going to do all that he can to try and win a game, and if he thinks that it's benching his big again, that's going to create inner turmoil again. But I do think that KD is such a force. I will say I am very irritated by a stat, and there were people just pumping KD up today that he is the first player ever in the NBA to be a 55-40-90 player. 55% from the field, 40% from three, 90%.
Doesn't count, not enough games.
That's the thing. So he only played 47 games, but they don't base it off of games for the official record. They say if you have attempted more than 18 shots a game, you qualify of those 47, and that is hot garbage. Do not do this. This is very similar to the original 50-40-90 club where I said that Kyrie didn't deserve to be in the 50-40-90 club. So there you go.
I'm kind of happy.
I have an issue with the
I'm kind of happy I don't
50-49
have to see Kyrie in the playoffs, if I'm being honest.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, like the Mavericks getting killed for tanking, but I mean, it's just like I
think that's an NBA problem, not a Mavericks problem.
That's funny though, because
really
they had a chance to make the playoffs.
And they just punted on it.
They just called
They're
it.
like, it's fine.
Yeah, we're going to
Better luck
lose
next
here
year.
because if they, again, if they miss it, then they're in the lottery, right? And then they go like, what's the point of making the playoffs, and making a few bucks for in a playoff series for home games versus like the potential of a lottery pick?
I mean, the thing is, they called it on the playoffs for them to have a 1.3% chance of getting Victor.
I think
Wemby.
it's 3%, but still, it's Wembanyama.
The pick was
going
to revert to the Knicks, right, as part of the Porzingis deal if they made the playoffs.
That could also be true.
I think that's
don't
what
know
it
the
was.
nuances
Is like
of
they were
their
going to
deal.
lose. Like if they did not have their pick was lottery protected essentially. So they were just like, we would rather have that pick and not be in the playoffs than be in the play-in game and then have the Knicks get that pick.
Victor Wembanyama is the sweepstakes for that. The Blazers at 10.5%. You have three teams in Detroit and Houston and San Antonio all at 14%.
Well, if he goes to the Blazers, he's just going to hurt his knee or something.
He will. I do think that it would be great. I think that the perfect place for him to go is San Antonio. That is just like quintessential Spurs pick right
That's
there.
very like Spurs luck, too. You know what I mean? Where
Absolutely.
it's just like the last time they had the first pick, they got Tim Duncan, and the time before that, they got David Robinson.
And Greg Popovich like, God damn it, I'm going to have to do this for another 10 years.
I know, he won't retire.
I thought I was going to retire. Now we've got this generational talent. Damn it.
I do miss Greg Popovich teams being. Does that make sense? Where
Yeah.
it's just like he was like you knew. I think my fondest NBA like fandom memories is from that first Spurs Heat finals. Like I think that was like my favorite basketball that I've ever watched in like 2013.
Yeah.
When it was like the Heat Big Three. Versus
Well, us growing up in like what the height of basketball when we were all adults and not kids is like all Spurs.
Yeah,
exactly. or like late 90s all the way to like mid 2000s, and it's like, they always get knocked for Spurs is boring basketball. It's like if you love basketball, you enjoyed the way they fucking play.
And by the time they got to like the early 2010s, like they weren't like the win a playoff game 80-76 Spurs. Like that was like beautiful, like ball doesn't hit the ground, like passing it around, like it's
like you saw actual
lovely.
coaching executed on the court.
Yeah,
like the way they moved, the way Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, and the way all these guys moved. I mean, it was, if you love basketball, you appreciated the way that they played.
Yeah.
It's not a one-on-one ISO ball. It's like it was team ball. It was great. That's kind of the way like I look at, and it's more in a flashy way, but Golden State has such a great system. You learn, like if you're watching them from nosebleed, you can see the way they're coming off screens and the way they're run. Like, how many miles does Steph and Clay run throughout an entire fucking season, running around and losing defenders? It's crazy.
Yeah, maybe it's just like a red herring that will just like all be fools later on. Not you, because you're on the Warriors for this. But just being so bad on the road this year is just it's very hard for me to overlook, because I mean,
I think they're just bored.
Yeah,
like they've been too good for too long, and they're just like, let's
get
just
good enough to get into the playoffs.
Like you gotta win this one.
Like if you're
gonna win the finals, you have to beat everyone anyways.
Yeah.
So
if you're the other team facing them in the series, do you think you're sitting in the locker room going, these guys have fucking sucked on the road this year?
They don't want to come to our house.
Or are you thinking, these guys are going to turn it on?
Oh shit, that's
these guys are going to turn it on, and it's fucking like we need to step up our game.
I am very excited about the Warriors and Kings series. I think it's going to be a great one to watch.
And to be fair, you've said it too. NBA regular season is fucking trash.
I think
this is the best part of the NBA.
Absolutely.
Get in
playoffs,
and you're good.
The NBA, like, it feels so broken right now, like as a product. Like,
I
you have
totally
82
agree.
games. Everyone has collectively like agreed like that's 10 to 15 too many, and like the good players sit. Like you just kind of limp to the playoffs. The teams,
load management is stupid.
The teams that either know they're not going to make the playoffs or like could make the playoffs but elect not to, like the Mavericks. Everyone's kind of pushing their chips in on the same long shot bet and is there's only going to be one winner or two, but everyone's trying to do it. And if they don't do it this time, they'll either do it next time or make a ton of decisions that lead to mediocrity. Like, I think the kind of like the way the NBA is kind of like a solved game from like a team building perspective, and the solution to that game is like get someone transcendently good however it takes, and it doesn't really matter what happens in the interim, because once you get that person, you have 10 years of borderline conference hegemony going for you. It's just like, it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
I think you're losing a lot of, like, we've brought this up several times, is like that competition aspect and that fire.
Yeah.
You have the Kevin Durant saying, I don't give a shit about my legacy.
That,
and I'll
to
tell
me,
you, I'll tell you what,
pisses me off.
Also, he's a
that
liar.
spreads.
Yeah.
That's contagious with players not caring about shit anymore. Watch Embiid win MVP and then not give a fuck about the playoff series. Like, I see shit like that happens all the time now. It's like, okay, I got the award that I fought for, that I wanted, and then who gives a shit? We're not going to beat Boston or Milwaukee anyway.
And like, it's
Throw
like,
it in.
Speaking of the Grizzlies, like, do you guys? I remember like the Tony Allen, Marc Gasol, Zebo Grizzlies, like, very fondly, and like that team never had a chance.
Yeah.
Like, they tried, and I feel like they have, kind of a little bit of an enduring legacy and like a very specific, like, was paying attention to the NBA in like the late 2000s, early 2010s kind of zeitgeist. But like, I don't think any modern, like, current NBA team is like embracing that model of being like a really good, like, 48 to 50 who win team that like
it's all or nothing.
Dismantles someone in a first round series and like gives the one seed like a hell of a fight in the second round. And I think it's kind of unfortunate, because I think in other sports, if you are that team, then like you have a puncher's chance at least. And in the NBA, it's just like you're just waiting to run into the buzzsaw that is like a Steph team or a LeBron team.
The NBA has become an all or nothing. If you don't have a chance, don't try.
And
if you have a chance, go.
Yeah, and I think that's true from a team building perspective. I think it's true from like a gameplay perspective, where it's like threes and layups. That's what we do. And it's kind of, it's a little monotonous. Like, I think there's a lot of fun skill sets that have been a little devalued. Like, like pick an iconic 90s player. And then it's like, would their game translate to today's rule set? You know what I mean? Like, who would Gary Payton be today? Like, he would still be really good at basketball, but like, it's not like he was a sharpshooter. Like, so all of a sudden, would you have like 3 seasons of Gary Payton just being like a lockdown defender, and then be like, oh, he's kind of an awkward fit, because like if you don't have like a big, like a 5 who can shoot threes, like then you don't have any team spacing. So
it's a completely different game.
It's kind of
all I know is like I hope that this next generation of players is just better than the Kevin Durant's and LeBron Jameses. So I'm starting to get a little beep on our guys, so we're gonna have to wrap it up. But Alex, appreciate you being here. Let's go and take some ranch shots or some mayonnaise and coffee at in the evening hours here.
Thanks for covering for Braxton.
I know, still alive and
he's just on vacay, enjoying time away from us.
Yeah.
You gotta do his closing remark.
Oh,
right. Yes. So you have to be the clear eyes.
Do you want me to do it right now?
Yeah.
Clear eyes.
Full hearts.
Can't lose.
It was pretty good.